I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta, I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Very nice, very nice. Thanks for joining us once again. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way real quick. You can help us out a couple of ways. One is through Patreon. We have 2 levels of donations, $1 and $3. We are still 5 short of the total 10 we need to get our Krysta out mailing stuff to people. So if we get 5 new $3 memberships by the end of the month, Krysta has to write and send out 10 pictures or digitally deliver 10 pictures, whatever. So that's part of the deal. If you cannot do a monthly donation, you can do a one-time donation through Buy Me a Coffee. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
Share it with family.
With everyone. And if you don't enjoy the show, please keep it to yourself. What are we talking about today? Well, today, in Belize, there is an ancient Mayan city. The city grew even when other Mayan cities were in decline. The city, called Xunantunich, is a fascinating archaeological find, and now people claim to see one of the city's former residents walking the site in this historical, Mayan cultural, and slightly paranormal episode of the Family Plot podcast. Full disclosure, we have a lot to get into this episode, including a very brief summation of the country of Belize and Mayan culture. These will be brief summations, as none of us have degrees in Mayan culture.
Yeah, and none of us claim to be like archaeologists or anything to really.
No, the closest I come to being an archaeologist is my lifelong love of Josh Gates.
Well,
Man crush.
Man crush.
There we go. So,
I guess I'm going to get us started talking about Belize, located south of Mexico, north and east of Guatemala, and west of the Caribbean Sea. Belize is a small strip of land that was once a British Crown colony before it was given its independence. It does not get along too well with Guatemala, as historically Guatemala has suggested that Belize should be part of Guatemala. It was once home to Mayan people who spread into Belize around 1500 BCE. They lived in the area until around 900 AD. Belize is a beautiful tropical country with over 400,000 people and an agrarian-based economy that specializes in exporting things like bananas and plantains, sugar, tobacco, lobsters and other crustaceans, fruit and vegetable juices, and molasses, along with other things. Belize is also a huge tourist destination.
Yes, absolutely. Now, let's take a little break in our Belizing to hear from Krysta's Corner. Yay! Wait.
Yay, Krysta's Corner.
Wait.
It's not just any corner, it's Krysta's Corner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the corner. It's been a week already.
Yep.
Just that kind of week that makes you want to grunt and go back to bed.
Yep.
How are we doing today? Mom, Dad?
I'm much better than I was yesterday. Yesterday, I had a fever and slept most of the day.
Yep. But apparently he slept through it because now he's been pretty okay all day.
That's pretty good. What about you, Mom?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I get that. I sure do. Well, I'm not gonna have you guys stick here for too terribly long. Because I just have some updates about drama. Well, not drama, but like competitive drama and debate and what we're doing.
Yeah, you reprised your Pinkie Pie rendition.
I did. I had my second round of debate this week. It was yesterday. I'm actually pretty proud of myself because it was an older, student. And they were playing as Nikola Tesla. We got a 3-3. It was a tie. But Mr. Graham made it a 3-4 and Nikola Tesla won, unfortunately. The debate was about how books are better than, the books are always better than the movies, blah, 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 blah. I made some pretty good points, I think. Although at the end I was a little unprepared, but I feel like I did really good considering the 3-3.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
We both played as our characters most of the time. And they just started talking about the Pinky Palooza or the Party Palooza, one of the books for My Little Pony. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. But I have a new one coming up, and I cannot say what my resolution is going to be. But I can say that I'm going up against Gordon Ramsay. Scared.
Are you Pinkie Pie still or a different character?
Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie against Gordon Ramsay.
Oh boy. Wow.
Super excited for that.
Just put spice in the food. He hates it.
He doesn't like spicy foods? Is that what you're telling me?
I've watched enough episodes of Nightmare Kitchen or Hell's Kitchen or whatever that thing he runs is. When anybody uses anything even vaguely spicy, he goes, this is horrible.
That's silly. Spices actually make everything better.
I'm not talking about spices. I'm talking about if you use a jalapeno or a little bit of spice, a little heat. He doesn't like it. He whines.
All right, anything else, Chris?
No, that was just me catching on what was happening.
Cool.
Also, I found out about a new animal.
A new animal.
It's called a civet. Well, it's not a real animal. A new animal, but it is an animal that's new.
She'd never heard of a civet before, and now...
Never heard about a civet before, and it's beautiful, and I love it very much. It looks like you copy and paste it, like you took off the face of a raccoon and put it on a different animal's body. I cannot explain it any other way than that. I love civets. They're so silly.
Nice.
Civets are somewhat related to ferrets.
I love that.
And ferrets are awesome.
Ferrets are awesome. Ferrets are 100% amazing.
If we didn't have cats, I'd have a ferret, but we have cats, and
We have cats.
they can coexist, but ours have not been coexisting since they were, and now I don't want to introduce one because they found mice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also found Noelle, and she's...
No.
Now, the other reason ferrets tend to dirty up floors.
Ferrets like to poop in corners.
Just like rabbits. They love corners.
Worse than rabbits.
Well, okay, I never had that problem with Bilbo. Once he had his box, he went in his box, just like a cat. But the problem I had with Bilbo is he would steal anything shiny, including Pop-Tart packages. Mind you, he didn't really want the Pop-Tarts, he just wanted the package, but...
Pretty.
Yeah, it was shiny. But if I wanted my breakfast, I had to go get it back. Or he'd steal keys a lot of the time. You got to go to work, you need your keys. So, yeah.
That's true.
He liked shiny things, and he would steal them. He also would steal socks. Something about socks and underwear for him, that was just heaven for him to lay curled up in.
Fluffy.
So, yeah, he would steal that, which looks really weird to see an animal about yay long that's really thin pulling a giant pair of underwear, which is what any pair of my underwear is. So if you would go over to his area, his little box that I made for him, his little, I don't know, yeah, his little burrow, to get a pair of socks or a pair of underwear or to get my keys, he would get very upset and he would chitter at me.
He'd tell you off.
Yes, for stealing his stuff that he stole from me.
Yeah, for stealing his stuff from him. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, cool.
So if he made it to his burrow, it was his, in his opinion. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Bobo. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
You want to take our next section if we're done with your corner?
Absolutely.
You do her out of her corner plots.
Nope, but I will. Give me just a second. There's your out of corner applause.
Yay! The Mayans are Mesoamerican culture. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That existed from antiquity,
Mm-hmm.
all right, to the early modern period. The Mayans are known for their ancient temples as well as their glyphs. These glyphs are part of the Mayan script. The most sophisticated as well as highly developed system of writing in the pre-Columbian Americas. Yeah. Americas. Their religion included elements of human sacrifice. Great! Egyptian stuff as well. Included a lot of sacrifice. Anyways. They also recorded their history in beautifully detailed screenfold books, of which only 3 uncontested examples remain, the rest being destroyed by the Spanish. They had mathematics and specifically used the number 0. They also had obsidian-edged weapons, and they also had obsidian-edged. Yeah, sorry.
Very nice.
Yep, they were the Mayan culture. On the one hand, was kind of barbaric. I mean, they're building these giant temples and they're committing sacrifices. But it was all. I mean, they had science, they had mathematics, they had a distinct culture, a distinct language. So, I mean, we're talking about like a very well-known, well-up group here. So, let's take a moment for a word from another podcast.
Listen up, true crime fans. I have a podcast that you won't want to miss. A heartfelt show that focuses on lesser-known crimes from around the globe called Our True Crime Podcast.
All right, buckle up, I guess. We
All
gotta
right,
put
ready?
our seatbelts on. We gotta go.
Every week, hosts Jen and Cam will guide you through a new case backed up by meticulous research and delivered with the utmost respect for victims and survivors. Cases like the fatal exorcism of Joan Vollmer.
Yes, eyes can turn red and appear to glow from increased adrenaline and blood flow.
I did not know that.
And the Haynes family massacre.
I'm almost afraid to hear it.
As a parent, I don't even know. I don't know.
You'll not only learn about the cases, you'll feel like you're part of a conversation with witty, lifelong friends. That's what truly makes this our true crime podcast. So, whether you're a true crime aficionado,
I thought you might say that. I was hoping anyway.
or a casual listener,
That's a baseball team, Jen, if you didn't know.
Oh, I figured it was some kind of sports ball thing.
sit down and join us for our True Crime Podcast. Listen on your favorite podcast apps today.
It's a Sunday. I'm sitting in a dark, dark room talking to my best buddy about
Crime.
That's right.
That was really cool.
I thought so.
Definitely in our wheelhouse for sure.
Yep.
For sure. I want to do a collab with them.
Yeah, we should look into that.
We should. So let's talk about Xunantunich. First of all, should be noted that is not the city's original name. We don't know what it is, near as we can tell. But it's called Xunantunich because Xunantunich means either stone maiden or maiden of the rock, depending on where you look it up. And to me, those are very different things. A maiden of the rock is seen on the rock. A stone maiden, well, she looks like Medusa has passed by at some point. The city itself was first explored, as near as we know, by a British medical officer named Dr. Thomas Gann. As I said, or as we said earlier, this was a British crown colony. Kind of think Bermuda from the Sir Harry Oakes episode. Gann was fascinated by the site and made arrangements to return sometime later. Around 1904, the first photograph was taken of the site, and it eventually went to the Peabody Museum of Archaeology, where it was displayed for quite some time, which is weird because that's like in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or someplace like that. Very, very far away from where that picture was taken. After that, the site was abandoned until 1924, when Gann returned, doing even more extensive research and uncovering several Mayan relics which have since disappeared. Many believe these treasures are sitting in a museum or a private collector's collection, and the current owners are unaware that these treasures were taken from Xunantunich. And I really hope some of these are eventually found and sort of put into, even if they're museums in Belize,
Right.
just places where people can see this stuff and have access to it. If nothing else, pictures of it.
Sure.
Sitting in a private collector's account isn't doing anybody any good. Now, since then, many archaeologists have engaged in excavations of the site. There is now a visitor center, and Dr. Richard Leventhal of the University of California has led several excavations and restorations on the site since 1990. There's also a local professor that is big on the site and works it as well. So that is a little bit of the background of the discovering of the city. Now, to some extent, this is not entirely accurate because the people who lived near Xunantunich, and there's been a village there for quite a while, were more than quite aware of it. But they didn't go near the place too much. They feared it.
Makes sense.
So let's take a moment for a word from our sponsors.
Hey, babe.
Yes, dear.
Hey, co-sponsor.
That's awesome.
Right. So should we talk a little bit more about what there is at Xunantunich?
Yeah.
Right. So there are several structures that are on the site. These include, but these are not limited to, El Castillo, which is a large pyramid at the center of the site and is the one structure that ties everything else together. It is 130 meters tall and is the second largest structure in Belize behind the temple at Paracal. A plaster frieze has been discovered surrounding El Castillo, which depicts the birth of a god. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a plaster frieze, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A plaster frieze has been discovered surrounding El Castillo, which depicts the birth of a god that is associated with the royal family. The Tree of Life, the gods of creation, a seated figure wearing elaborate anklets. Structure 1A was put up later and seems to be a ritual space for priests and rulers and placed on top of the ball court.
Mayans played a weird form of ball.
Yeah. Yes, and then people died afterwards. I remember hearing about.
Yeah, the winners, weirdly.
Yeah, yes, they were sacrificed.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Josh Gates talked about that on when he went and was exploring there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Structure 1A was put up later and seems to be a ritual space for priests and rulers. It was placed on top of the ball court.
Which is a bit of an odd choice because the ball court's a big part of their culture.
Yeah. Recently, a burial site was discovered on the site containing the bones of a man in his 20s or 30s as well. Archaeologists believe the man was athletic and well-muscled when he passed. The burial chambers also contained ceramic vessels, jade pearls, obsidian knives, animal bones, and various stone objects. The team that led the excavation that discovered it was led by archaeologist Jamie Awe.
And he is the guy that I was talking about, the local.
Oh.
Yeah. And so if he's down there and he can't identify things, it's truly unknown.
Sure.
And that's another thing is I was always fascinated with the idea of the Mayan knife and the Mayan sword. What they are is they're just made of wood, but they take obsidian, which can get really sharp, and they hone it down and they slide it into the edge of the sword. So it's like essentially you've got this wooden stick with razors all over it. Yeah. So yeah. Xunantunich means stone woman or maiden of stone. The story goes that a man from the nearby village of San Jose Socots, which is the village I was talking about, was hunting near Xunantunich around the end of the 1800s. And as he crossed in front of El Castillo, he saw a beautiful woman dressed in the traditional manner of a Mayan noble. Actually, they mention like specific parts of her dress, like a peak and a huipil. And I don't know if I'm saying either of those right, so that's why I chose not to include them. But
gotcha.
Accurately dressed Mayan woman. She smiled at him as she stood near the cave mouth near El Castillo, and the man fled in terror. When he got to town, he told everyone about the strange woman he had seen. The townspeople gathered several volunteers who went to Xunantunich but could not find the lady. Since then, the Maiden of the Rock has been seen by tourists, students, archaeologists, and several other visitors. So far, no one seems to have any idea who she is, but many of the locals believe she is the spirit of the city itself.
Oh. That's kind of a nice thought to have about it, the spirit of the city itself.
What? Except the city hasn't been a city in over 1,000 years. So why would the spirit of the city be there? I don't know who she is, but I'm sure she's the ghost of someone that once lived there.
Well, okay, but she's the one that a few people have seen. That doesn't mean that there's not still something going on in this abandoned city. I mean, we've talked about layers of reality. We've talked about spiritual energies. You cannot tell me a huge Mayan culture that disappeared does not still have those same energies and emotions and that same energy running through the area still. This is just the one that they have seen, but you almost wonder if there isn't still life going on in this culture just that it's at a level that we can't all experience.
Well, and the thing is, it would be a lot easier if the Spanish hadn't destroyed all those books and we knew something about the Mayan history,
Sure.
something more than we do.
Yeah.
But we got 3, and we don't even understand what they mean, really, because there's nobody to educate us in the Mayan style. We can take guesses, but that's about it. But here, the other thing is she doesn't appear to be a residual haunting.
Mm-hmm.
She appears to try to interact with those that see her.
Right.
Sometimes it's just she's waving them over to her. Sometimes she's just waving at them. But she always seems to be trying to interact with those who see her. And like I said, with the people of San Jose Socots, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that last part right, but they're kind of scared of the place. They feel like that something not quite right is below the surface of Xunantunich. And they don't spend a lot of time there, which is weird because I think a significant portion of the people of Belize are of Mayan descent.
Well, and we have quite, as I understand it, we have a fairly decent culture of Hispanics that are Mayan descent. Mayans really are a lot of where a lot of Hispanic cultures relate back to, similar to how a lot of Americans, even if now we consider ourselves white Caucasians, a lot of Americans still have, indigenous Americans or, American Indians. A lot of us have that in our history as well. And as I understand it, even our own son, Dimix, has Mayan culture in his history on his grandfather's side.
And that's very cool. And like I said, I'm not a Mayan scholar, far from it. But the Mayans are just impressive people to me. We know they did brain surgery, for example, which that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, just because there is all this controversy over whether or not the Mayans had any access to extraterrestrial technology. And I get where that comes from. That comes from people, a certain group of scientists saying these people were not smart enough and advanced enough to do this. They would have needed help. Unfortunately, when I got here, I just thought it would be cool that aliens were interacting with humans at any point in history, but doesn't seem to be the case, at least here. And like I said, we still don't know what the city used to be called. We have no idea. We still haven't found most of the city. Most of it was reclaimed by the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and Mayan cities are impressively large.
Yeah.
And most of them, we do not have the whole city uncovered. It's still buried under the jungle.
Yep. What about you, Chris? What do you think?
I mean, what is there to say?
No, it's a whole culture that we barely know anything about. It's a whole culture of people.
I just wish that more people would know about it. I mean, there's a lot more to learn about it. Like, there's not a whole bunch of backup stuff to talk about there. But it's very interesting. It's something that most people wouldn't think to even try to find stuff out about. I just think it should be talked about more. And I feel like every culture sort of has its own little part of what is what is sort of, I guess, supernatural, I guess.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we really have no idea who she is. We don't know if she was royalty on the site somewhere, perhaps, or maybe she was just a commoner who worked the site. Maybe she was a priestess. If they had priestesses, I'm not sure if women were allowed in that job, but maybe. We just don't know who this woman is. And very unlike other hauntings we've come across where we have some idea or at least guesses, we just don't know. So that's another reason people think she might be like the spirit of the site itself, because they can't come up with another reason why there might be a female ghost haunting a Mayan village, a Mayan city. But that seems to be the case. And that brings me to something else, which is, I mean, mind you, we're missing a lot of the Mayans' records. But I don't know if ghosts were a thing that Mayans believed in.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, they did do sacrificing, right?
Yep, they would cut.
That's kind of tie-ins.
I mean, if you're sacrificing people, then there's got to be some reason for that. You're sending them somewhere, or
in order to get
you're
them back.
releasing energy or something for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Feel like it.
I guess it does. I had never heard of this place until a few weeks ago when I was looking for just unusual podcast ideas. That's what was in my Google search. And it popped this up among other things. And the more I dug into this, I thought, oh, okay, haunted Aztecs, cool. But it's not. The Aztecs were sort of the Mayan. They came after the Mayans. They were similar, but they didn't have quite the grasp the Mayans did on certain things. But yeah, so I thought, okay, Mayan ghosts, that's cool. But the more I dug into it, it's the site that fascinates me, because this plaster frise would have been around this temple. And that's kind of unusual in Mayan culture. So that says that there was something big going on here. Also, we know that they got rid of the ball court to put in this priest and rulers area. And that is really like you're getting out of the Mayan way of doing things there. And not to mention, now while Xunantunich was still rising, was still developing and still growing, a lot of other Mayan cities had started to enter a decline. So for about 100 years, Xunantunich was the big boy among Mayan culture. Mm-hmm. And then,
I mean, when you think of it in that light, you have to think that maybe that's what they were trying to revive the culture and changing things to try to improve things, and then instead it
just
went south.
Yeah, and that's very much possible. Of course, the Spanish invading didn't help the matters, because whatever was left of the Mayan culture, they pretty much destroyed, along with whatever they could of the Aztec culture, all in the hopes of finding gold.
Yep.
Which is just sad that we as a people have at times chased other people around because we want their money. And it's bad enough when it's bad enough when it's a guy in a street corner with a gun, hey, give me your wallet, that. But this is going after a whole culture, and it just feels a level of wrong that I can't even begin to broach. But maybe, see, the thing that gets me though is the Maiden of the Rock. That is my preferred way of referring to her, the Maiden of the Rock, because a stone maiden to me is like a statue. Mm-hmm. But a Maiden of the Rock, well, she just appears near the rock, and she does.
Yeah.
I wonder if she was maybe a sacrifice at some point to found this city. I wonder if they did that. And I wonder if that's why her spirit is still there. It's trying to protect the city, even though it's not really a city anymore. So, and it just, I don't know. This was fascinating to me because I don't know much about Mayan culture. And I expected to see things that I thought I knew, like Quetzalcoatl. But it turns out Quetzalcoatl is a god of the Aztecs, may not have had anything to do with the Mayans.
Nope.
Like this creation deity that's pictured on the frisee. I'd never heard of that before, but it's a Mayan thing, and maybe a late Mayan thing. Maybe the Mayans here were a little more removed from their culture and had to come up with another way of doing things, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting place, and I wish I knew more about Mayan culture so I could at least understand how it all goes together. I feel like back in the day, 3D movies, you had to wear these special glasses, or they were just hard. You couldn't watch them.
Right.
But the glasses, you put them on, the movie is now easy to watch, and things pop out at you. Bum, 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 bum. And that's kind of cool. And I feel like I'm seeing the 3D version of this, but nobody has given me the 3D glasses so that I can put it together right.
Total sense. Absolutely, babe.
And then there's the guy they found, which he almost has to be some sort of noble for the area for him to be preserved, especially preserved with jade pearls, which I didn't know jade pearls were a thing.
Sure they are. But jade pearls in Asia for thousands of years.
And then, but like, just all the stuff that's there. And I wonder if the animal bones weren't bones then, but were like maybe his pets.
Sure.
That were laid with him, like the Egyptians used to do. And then just, they didn't embalm them. They just embalmed him.
Right.
So, yeah. And like I said, it's all bones now. So we had to get osteologists in to go, well, he was probably well muscled and he was probably, So it's just, I don't know. There's just, like, we may have to come back to this if there's ever any more that's released on it.
There's an update.
Yeah.
Another podcast.
10 years, gonna be 24. Y'all are gonna be old.
I mean, we're already old. Does that bring us to the end of the show?
Yeah, we're getting there. All right. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping us in the Good Pods Top 100. And please join our Facebook group.
We love our Facebook group.
We do. I love how many people we have joining us there each week. Thanks to Bill Barrett, and that last name is spelled Behrendt. Bill is the one who does our theme music. Bill is a musician, so if you need music for a project or an event, Bill's your guy. You can reach him at billbarrett@sbcglobal.net. Thanks goes to Paige Elmore, formerly of Reverie True Crime, which I just found out has been shuttered earlier this year. Kind of sad. But she still has a lot of episodes, so if you're still interested, you certainly can listen to everything she made. But she also has a Canva addiction and has gone out of her way to help us with stuff. So thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
Thanks to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show for continuing to promote us locally. And join us next week, because we're going to go to a different part of the world at a different time, kind of, and talk about history and ghosts.
All right.
We're going to go to Scotland.
Nice.
And meet the ghosts that dwell at Edinburgh Castle.
Nice. I like when we go to castles. Bye.
Bye.